favorite Dharman actor and your king here, Melvin Ward, back at it again with another episode of Mel's Perspective Podcast. And today we're going to be talking about something that to me is very important and something that I feel is being lost, especially when it comes to the country of the United States, and that is the First Amendment and how does that apply to 2021 and what does that look like? So I'm gonna give you the definition to the First Amendment, and it says Congress shall make no law respecting and establishing religion or prohibiting free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Now, what is the First Amendment in simple terms? The First Amendment guarantees freedoms concerning religion, expression, assembly, and the right to petition. It guarantees freedoms of expression by prohibiting Congress from restricting the press or the rights of individuals to speak freely. Now, I feel, and this is just my opinion, so don't, shoot the messenger, or don't quote unquote cancel me when I say this, but I feel nowadays, especially when it comes to our First Amendment, or part of our First Amendment, which is the freedom of speech, I feel you kind of have to walk on eggshells, or I feel like you can't say how you really feel about certain people, certain things, because people are too sensitive, or they get sensitive about certain subjects. So it's like everybody, everybody has a right to opinion, everybody has the right to feel a certain way, but I feel like nowadays it's getting a little bit out of hand when it comes to, you can't say this or you can't say that, and if you say this, then you might get canceled. If you say that, then you're completely just blackballed for the rest of your life. You can't do that. You can't say that. For example, the baby, I'm pretty sure some of y'all heard about what happened with, the baby at the concert. I don't want to, go too much into detail, but he said something and, it rubbed people the wrong way, which in my opinion, brother, you're wrong, completely wrong, and you should be canceled for saying that because you just can't. So, I'm in full support of, people's, beliefs, religions, say what you want to say, but do what you want to do. But as long as you don't respect me and, disrespect what I believe, then we're fine. You can say whatever you want to say as long as you don't disrespect me and call me out of my name, then we're completely good. And I feel that's important for people to have freedom of speech, but I just feel like nowadays, we as Americans sometimes get, we have to have a muzzle on our mouth. For me, I'm just going from my personal experiences as a black man, and I feel like, I have to hold my tongue in certain situations, certain scenarios, because I don't want to be seen as this angry, mad black man, voicing his opinions about certain things, or just being this, stereotypical black man, So it's we're deemed as this scary boogeyman, when in fact we're pretty cool, chill individuals, But I just don't think that it's right for, one side of America says you can say stuff, and another side says that you can't say anything. And then in the middle, or not necessarily in the middle, but then when you do have something to say, it's a problem. So what's the whole point of the Constitution in reality? Because my personal opinion is that I feel like the Constitution is completely outdated, and the Constitution, parts of the Constitution needs to be updated, and I don't know if there was something that was a part of the Constitution that says you can't change anything, or you can't update it like these these things just stays the same. And it's like, no, this is 2021, and I feel with the Constitution, things need to be changed, or things need to be, like I said, updated, to make everybody feel comfortable to say and do whatever they want to say, and have opinions about whatever you have opinions of, as long as you're not disrespecting someone's religion, their race, which is going to be completely impossible. So what was the point of me even having this podcast today? I don't know. It was just something that was just on my heart, and just, on my mind, and I just had to just speak on the First Amendment, and like, do we really have freedom of speech? To a certain extent. Like, I really feel to a certain extent like we do have freedom of speech. It just depends on who you're talking to, or it's like, you can only say what you feel around people that you're comfortable around talking to. You know what I mean? Like, if you're around a whole bunch of black folks, you can say whatever you want about, Black Lives Matter and black this and black that. But then when somebody else of another race has something to say about black people, it's a problem. Vice versa with someone's, sexual orientation, or like, their spiritual beliefs. That's another thing when it comes to, which I do have to disagree, because I feel like religion is completely man-made, but everybody has their religion, and that's completely fine. Like, your religion is your religion, and my religion is my quote-unquote religion. But I feel when it comes to religion, there's always going to be some type of, well, my religion is better than yours, and yours, I don't, like, why do you do this and why do you do that? Like, I feel everybody, when it comes to religion, should have, an open mind. Not saying, oh, you can go ahead and convert me, quote unquote, but I'm willing to listen and to hear about your culture and what that means, but don't down my beliefs. You know what I mean? And I feel certain religions, if you say you're a certain religion, it's a problem. But when you're another religion, it's not a problem. As you can see, I'm not really trying to like specify which one is which, because I don't want to be that controversial, and this podcast is still fairly new. So but that's a part of the First Amendment, which is freedom of religion, expressing your religion, and sometimes I just feel like it's frowned upon because of history, and because of what was left behind, and now certain religions have to kind of like pick up the pieces or be shown in a completely different light, which isn't fair. So but religion is a religion, and I feel like everybody should believe in something. Believe in something. Believe that there is a higher power. I know what I believe in, and I know that I know the truth about my beliefs and my faith. But I'm not the type of individual to down anyone's religion, anyone's faith, anyone's belief. That's your opinion. As long as you don't disrespect me and mine, that's my thing. Say what you want, but as long as you don't disrespect me, then we don't have a problem. And everybody has the freedom of a peaceful protest, and sometimes, and that's another thing. Like, when it comes to a peaceful protest, you're expressing how you feel, and you're expressing your thoughts and your beliefs. But for some odd reason, it's a problem, and I'm pulling a race car, but for some reason, and this goes way back, in the 1950s and 1960s, where like peaceful protests, but it's still a problem, because my ancestors, my people, stood up for something that was right, but being fire hosed and beaten up and attacked by German shepherds and stuff like that, when we're having a peaceful protest. First Amendment, expression. So is the First Amendment outdated? What do you think? Do you feel the First Amendment is outdated? Do you feel like it needs to be completely trashed? Do you feel like some things can, be said? And I'm just saying, as far as like the Constitution, I mean, do you feel that it needs somebody needs to look at it and say, this doesn't apply to 2021, not anymore, or this applies to it, but let's kind of tweak it a little bit. Still have the same values, but let's kind of tweak it a little bit. You know what I mean? But what I will say though is, I guess it is part of the First Amendment, kind of, with the whole cancel culture. I spoke upon that before, but I didn't really go that much in depth with the cancel culture. And you can't say anything. You can't, everybody's group, even with black people, you know what I mean, has something where oh, you can't say that, or you say that, oh no, it's a problem, you can't say that. Even when sometimes I feel like I said, don't kill a messenger. I'm just a man. This is just from my perspective, from my standpoint, from my point of view. When some women say something so bad or down, the man, usually men ain't this, men ain't that, men ain't da. That's your opinion. That's completely fine. But I find it funny. I find it really funny when a man has something to say about a woman. It's a problem. It's a problem. Oh no, you can't say that. Why are you saying da? And then you just get attacked, and that's not cool, and that's not right. Why? What's the whole? Like I said, what's the whole purpose of freedom of speech when you don't really have the freedom to speak your mind? Maybe we do have the freedom of speech. We still do have a freedom of speech, and people are just very sensitive, and people have the right to feel the way they want to feel. And people, I guess some people nowadays are they're just very sensitive, too sensitive, and they're not willing and open to listen and to not take everything to heart, even though you're part of a certain group. Now, I will say though, because I remember in middle school learning about, political science and social studies and stuff like that, and how the one thing that plenty of things that I got, but one of the things that really stood out to me when it came to the First Amendment and freedom of speech is, like I said before, you can say whatever you want to say as long as you're not disrespecting and hurting somebody. That's what I got from it, and I feel that's true. You can say whatever you want. You can say whatever you want about black people. You can say whatever you want as long as you're not disrespecting. As long as you're not coming from a place of hate and a place of malice. Say what you want to say. It doesn't matter, because everybody has their opinions about everybody, and it's fine to have your opinion as long as you're not disrespecting. How about that? How about you add that into the First Amendment? Say what you want to say, do what you want to do, be who you want to be, as long as you're not disrespecting. Because I know that there's certain artists who do things and who says things and is completely just blown, completely wait, that's completely far left. What are you doing? Some of the stuff that some artists do is completely deliberate and on purpose, and it's not a problem. It's not a problem. It's oh no, this is what it is. It's the norm now. Okay, but if I say something about that, or this particular person, or this particular group, it's a problem. What? but this person just did this. Double standard. Double standard. It's like, oh, well, I can say whatever I want to say, and that's fine. But don't say nothing about that, because if you do that, I'm gonna have to say something about that. But you just did that. It's like, to me, it goes back to what was I talking about? Oh, paying attention. Oh, not focusing on someone else's speck of wood in their eyes, like a small little speck, when you got this big plank in your eye. You know what I mean? And I guess it goes back to people having their own opinions about certain things. And it's like, well, why can you say and do whatever you want to do, but then when I do this, you have a problem? But even though I just saw you deliberately do something where, in my eyes, in my opinion, worldly, that's completely wrong. Completely wrong. So, is it a agree to disagree? Like, is it? No, seriously, like, tell me, like, is it like an agree to disagree? Because biblically, everybody sinned. Nobody can judge. Nobody can judge. Nobody on this earth is perfect. Everybody sins every single day. Everybody. Nobody's perfect. Biblically, nobody's perfect. On this earth, nobody's perfect. Everybody has something that they're dealing with. Everybody has their flaws. Everybody is learning every single day. Everybody, makes mistakes, and that's completely fine. But for some reason, social media and, these platforms that we have, you can say and do whatever you want to say. Which is completely, I guess in some ways it's completely fine, but like, don't act like you're high and mighty, and I think that's the problem. That's the problem. People feel that they're untouchable behind the keyboard, behind the camera, behind their phones, and their life is completely perfect when in fact it's not. And it might be those people who are actually living the worst life. I'm pretty transparent. I'm not perfect. 100% I'm not perfect. I sin every single day. God works on me every single day, and His grace and His mercy and His love endures forever, and that's why I'm ever so grateful. I'm not perfect. I admit it. I admit when I'm wrong. I admit when I do things wrong. It goes back to accountability too, knowing when you're wrong. But yeah, the First Amendment. Is it outdated? Is there a flaw in the First Amendment? I don't know. What do you think? Tell me what you think. Seriously, I really want to know, what is your opinion on the First Amendment? What does the First Amendment mean to you? Because some people blow it completely out of proportion, and they feel like they stick to the First Amendment, or that's their excuse. Oh, well, I can say whatever I want to say because it's the First Amendment. Yo, chill. I get it. We get it. Yes, we all have these rights, but don't abuse it. Don't abuse it. Accept people for who they are, and things are changing. I'm pretty sure back like in the 70s, people who were growing up in the 70s, were living their lives, and people who were, who grew up in the 60s didn't like what the people in the 70s were doing, but they adjusted. Same thing with the people who in the 80s, grew up in the 80s. The people from the 70s didn't like what they were doing, but they had to adjust. Same thing with the 90s. The 80s babies, they had to adjust. The 2000s and on up. And now we're to 2021. We just got to adjust, like we all been able to do. adjust it and accept it. People are different. People are strange. People are weird. People do things. It doesn't matter. As long as you don't disrespect. As long as it's not completely deliberately disrespectful. And sometimes that's just what they do. And the deliberate disrespect is acceptable. That's what I don't get. When you can literally cuss somebody out, slap them in their face, it's acceptable. It's forgiven. But I guess it just depends on who you are. That's what it is. That's what it is. It's only catered to certain people who have a certain like status. To me, this is just my opinion and my perspective. This is just what I feel when it comes to the First Amendment and who it applies to. You can say whatever you want to say and do what you want to do because I have a certain amount of money, or I have a certain level of celebrity, or I am this person. You're not God. You're not perfect. I get it. I completely get it, but yeah, we have to accept the fact that the Constitution is flawed and it's outdated, and people abuse and sometimes take these laws and these amendments too seriously and too literal, and they blow it completely out of proportion. But hey, how can we solve this? That's my question for you. I guess these are like my final thoughts. That's my question for you. How can we solve this problem? Do you think it's a problem? Do you think the First Amendment is flawed? Do you think it's perfect the way it is? Do you think the Constitution is flawed? Do you think that it's perfect the way it is? Do you think that certain people can say whatever they want to say and it doesn't apply to certain other people? Or how about this? This is something that my mom used to say, to me and to my siblings when we were little. And I think this still is so true. If you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. Off my soapbox for today. And that is it today for this episode of Mel's Perspective. I hope that you enjoyed it just like I did. This conversation was great. And for my people who are watching this on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Smash the like button, share the video. And people who are listening on the podcast, share this. Thank you so much for listening and spending time with me. It's your favorite Dhar, MelTheActor, and your king here, Melvin Ward, signing off. And I'm out.